are introducing the last session of the day before the open office with the Speckle team. So actually the before last session. And we have with us Spiros and Helmut, who will take us through PrismArch's platform built using Speckle's Unreal connector combined with virtual reality. So let's welcome them on stage.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how are you guys?
Fine. Excuse a little bit by background noise. I'm in a meeting, so and there is some background coming from you, Helmut, I believe.
No, impossible.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
All right, the stage is yours.
Okay, I will start. And so I'm Spiros Nikolopoulos. I'm a senior researcher from the Center of Research and Technology, Hellas. We will be talking about PrismArch, a collaborative immersive platform for multidisciplinary design in the AEC industry. So how do we blend virtual reality? How do we mix this with Speckle? And how do we facilitate all the different engineering and architecture designs? These are the partners of the project that I need to report on. So it has been served as a research center. And please, Helmut, you can take over because I have background noise.
Yeah, sure. The other collaborators in this consortium is a research project. It's the University of Malta with AI-assisted design solutions. Also, they come from game optimization, but also dip now into the AEC disciplines. ETH Zurich was responsible for cognition and cognitive science, checking our developments in regards to migrating our businesses and attitudes into VR. Mindesk system integration and software development using their own proprietary knowledge on VR modeling. That is me representing my team for Zahidid Architects VR Group. As architects, as our architectural discipline partner, our other partners are AKT2, structural engineering, and Speckle for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, as also part of the exemplary task force as representing the AEC industry. Yeah, and that I think is us too. Spiros will be taking you to the big chunk. I will be only giving you a small introduction, our kind of incentive of what led us to this project. And I have had three colleagues with me for this 2.5 years journey: Alexandra Mishraitra, Risa Tateuchi, and Daria Solachet. They were all architects and designers, but also obviously specializing in our VR research. Next slide, please.
And on our side, there has been developers, mainly Unreal developers, that have been involved in this effort, trying to do this Speckle connector, this connector for Unreal. Move on.
Yeah. So the preamble I wanted to give you is obviously regarding our motivation as architects, but also in line with our other industry representatives. Spiros, please push forward. You're migrating. Okay. So just to remind us, our interest VR started about 15 years ago. VR as a kind of innovative pressure point to our existing workflows, our fully computerized workflows, not to mention, but clearly having a personal point of view, an immersive point of view, a full-scale simulation in which we as designers can be in the same space as our simulations that we normally used to do in 2D projections. That is a kind of a renaissance concept of space creation, but also simulation. That paired obviously with our computerized, networkable, multinational, multidisciplinary collaborations was the trigger for us to go and develop a prototype called Big World. But then with Spiros and our collaborators on PrismArch, we stepped up our development and research. What I also wanted to clearly highlight is that as a holistic enterprise architecture, creating architectural space be it master plan scale or small residential scale, is a collaborative effort. And just looking at the outdated image of having multiple people to communicate designs either in one space or across continents is and will remain a challenge. And I think clearly when we're looking at our product, our outcomes, we are dependent on more and more refined, also technical expertise and simulations that then lead to results. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at what is a holistic design overview in terms of the processes that are required to initiate a project and bring it all the way to fruition, but also to maintain and operate a project, that cannot be a single autocratic auteur anymore. That is and has never been the case. These are highly refined and also fluctuating and evolving apparatuses, collectives that move over time. So if you see this diagram, you have these kind of dialectics that are then processing information and forwarding and producing results that are queried and tested by multiple disciplines. Now, next slide, please. When the first part of our contributions to the project was the forensic part and looking at our current workflows, we developed a matrix that looks at qualities of output and experiential output, starting with non-digital. We're talking about phone calls, right? We're talking about minutes of meetings. We're talking about drafting up to virtual spatial simulations, and that over time, over the entire extent of the design process. Next slide, please. Now, migrating our current understanding of current VR and current digital design platforms into these diagrams, we can see how isolated and insular these sit within the overall, let's say, optimal window of operations. That means, next slide. Spiros, can you hear me? He wants me to talk more. Okay. So we analyzed not just obviously existing external third-party software, but also our entire platforms, the way we work. We established samples based on 4 different architectural projects that we have developed together with our partners in the real world, and clearly seen how all of this information and information processing and information platforms stick together. Spiros, can you hear me? Can you do the next slide? Yeah, so and one of the outcomes is when we're applying these matrices to the existing software platforms, you see the different color codes. That's just the 3 representative disciplines. We're talking potentially 20, 30 different types of disciplines that could be involved in a large-scale project. But just for the 3 alone, you can see the dystopia of various different software platforms that are not connectable, that all have to be kept alive for record-keeping purposes. Now, if you would say that the sum of all these discourses and developments is then the outcome, a positive outcome, a constructed project, then we almost see the requirement for having those blend together. And the connectivity into Speckle is clearly the route forward. Next slide, Spiros. Yeah, and the latter part of the project, we contributed a visioning for what these digital information and design space would be, and what are the individual tasks. We defined tasks that are necessary and utterly representative of our day-to-day work, and how they would then be formulated in an immersive real-time environment as we are moving away from desk work or screen work into a fully immersive work environment. Next slide, and I think we're getting to the medias res. Spiros, please take.
Okay, so I will take on from here. Sorry a little bit about background noise. I will try to speak loud. So what is the PrismArch? Now I will talk to you. I mean, this has been the conceptualization from Zaha Hadid, how such a system should work, and this is what we have done. A little bit about the architecture, a few words. So ideal was to streamline the workflow of AEC professionals. And we have debated a little bit in the beginning about synchronous collaboration and asynchronous collaboration. So whether real-time edits are necessary or whether history and authorship edits are necessary. And we come to the conclusion that we would need something like a GitHub for AEC. And this is when we bump into Speckle that was promising this exact thing, and being able to store different versions of different tools, and being able to keep history and do all the necessary housekeeping, let's say, of all the different differential edits and so on. And this is just to show you that how Speckle has become the center of our implementation. Many different tools like SAP 2000, Rhino, Revit, and so on. But on the other hand, the promise of our project was to deliver all this into virtual reality. And that's why we had to connect Speckle with an Unreal connector. And this has been one of the major outcomes and one of the major contributions into the community of Speckle to fully develop this Unreal Speckle connector. So a little bit about the PrismArch achievements. This is a little bit what we have managed to implement. And first, we have achieved this interconnection between VR and all the different tools that are being used by AEC, and like Revit, Rhino, and SAP 2000. This has been one major achievement through Speckle. The second was that we have developed a workspace also for a collaboration, but also in the physical workspace where designers and architects can actually collaborate and let's say, sorry, it's too much background noise, collaborate and deliver their work and co-design, but also view and feel the impact of their design options. And this is what you will see in the next video. So from here on, it's a little bit a video. I will try to go a little bit faster and to do some narration as it go through. So this is, we start from Rhino, and the architect here can design its model, and it can upload the model to Speckle. This is the first step that all designers can do. This is how it views in the Speckle connector, and then we go into the virtual space. This can be downloaded into this virtual space. Everybody here is with a VR headset. It's represented by an avatar. And there he can interact with the design. He can put it on a table, discuss with it, and investigate it further. But even more, they can go into the physical space. They can do it from in real time, in real life, in real scale, if I can say. And moreover, they can also communicate and assign tasks. So this is to ask for your fellow engineer to be able to do something for you, or the map engineer to do some structural elements, implications. This is what we have incorporated using the commenting functionality of Speckle. And as we go along, then we go back to the structural engineering. So the fellow engineering from the structural engineer can download actually the model from Speckle, and he can process it into the SAP 2000 environment. Here, all the structural elements can take place, all the simulations can take place, all the different calculations can take place, and into their own, the convenience of their own tool, the convenience of their own environment. And here you can see a little bit of manipulations that can be done with respect to the structural elements of the building that was designed previously in Rhino. And then, of course, then there is a connector that can upload things to Speckle. And then here we go to Revit. Again, we can see that the same model can be downloaded in Revit. Here again, all the different calculations can take place. The engineer can do his job in adding like a heating bumps or this system that is taking care of the cooling and heating of the building. And then he can do all the necessary manipulations. Again, at the convenience of using its own environment, at the convenience of using its own tool that he is accustomed to use. And again, everything can be uploaded in Speckle. And now is the point that all this can come together into the virtual reality space. Here we can see this in the Speckle browser, and then here how we can combine all of them. We have 3 different models that have been developed by different engineers. This is the architectural model. This is the map model, I believe, and this is the structural elements of the model. Here they can discuss, I mean, into the virtual space, they can make changes or simulations or what they do. We can even a little bit play around with some of the multiplication factors of the structural element models. And but even so, they can also put them in the main table in a registered format and be able to inspect them again in physical scale. I mean, this is what you are offering, that you discuss and you make decisions in a miniature version, and then you can actually feel and understand this the impact of your decisions into the physical scale. You can see here that there has been also some sophisticated viewing capabilities where you can see This is like a clipping plane where you can see different aspects of the model. Here also the model coming from Revit is also attached to the model. And then here we can, of course, play with the scale, the rotation, and so on. So all different manipulations can take place here that you can help collaborate, all from different places, from the convenience of your own home, of your own environment, of your own company. And again, you go to the physical scale, you can see that all models here are placed, registered. Here you can use the clipping plane to see how the different structural elements are used to support the building, if it's the right terminology. And eventually you can see all different aspects of your decisions. Again, you can interact using comments and I don't know, complete your tasks and stay with communication. All these comments are geolocated, so as they are referred to a certain object, they refer to a certain aspect of the 3D model. Okay, and this is how it looks, and then you can go back and but even more so, you can also bring stuff in your own, not only from Revit and so on. So you can bring stuff from your actual file browser. When you're talking about the interior, you can bring your own models like a new chair or a new furniture that you can place it into the model and see how it feels in a real-time environment, in a VR immersed environment. And what is even more important is that we can actually have provided the ability to roughly sketch things when you are in the VR environment and communicate this to your professional designer that he can do the proper thing in Revit or in Rhino. So here we have this procedure that we want to set somehow of a couch here with a table in the middle. So quickly, the woman can roughly sketch how she would like to do this. And by using, let's say, you can see the first person view on the small right window and how a collaborator views. This is the full scale, the full completed sketch that she has done. And also drawing a little bit table to put in the middle. And this should also go into the Revit, into Speckle first, and then into Rhino. You can see that here they use nerves, and you can use a lot of different flexibility to be able to sketch within the VR environment. Okay, everything these are being selected and then being committed to Speckle so as to become available to all other tools. And when you are able to do this, then you can send a message to your furniture designer. Okay, this is what I would like to have in my building. And these are selected, sent, and so on. So all these are registered. They will go in the proper place, in the proper shape to your fellow engineer. And then the fellow engineer, this furniture designer, can retrieve this model from Speckle. Then he designs this furniture in the best possible quality, and then he can commit back this information to Speckle. And as soon as this is done, then again through the connector, through the Unreal connector, you can download the thing into the VR environment. So this is how it looks in Speckle. And this is how it may look. You can now fetch this from Speckle, and this is how it looks in the actual simulation, the actual real environment. So this has been a nice demonstration of how you use Speckle to interconnect between all different AEC tools, but even more so, how to interconnect with VR, which has been also the promise of PrismArch, how to use VR technologies to be able to facilitate architects, mechanical and structural engineers to be able to be more productive, to be able to handle better their processes, and to be able even more so to see the impact of their design choices. This has been the major promise. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, guys. If you have a few 1 or 2 minutes to answer questions, is that okay? I can bring them to the stage. Here's the first one.
I can take this question. So it's not that different from using virtual reality, I don't know, for games and for show. So to give you an understanding, we have run this process with engineers and different companies, and also people from university that were. They didn't require much training, so of course they couldn't get the full scale of all the different functionalities that we could offer, but it was very easy for them to understand that how easy they can fetch a model, they can interact with a model, they can go into physical scale and so on. I don't know, Helmut, if you want to comment
Yeah,
also on this.
I think it's what I just answered in the chat. I think clearly it also depends on what it is that you're doing, right? I mean, we start off with pure basic communication down to actual modeling and asset creation inside the PrismArch data space. So I think clearly we're transforming an existing workflow. We have connectors to existing software platforms, so these are remaining in the same way they are used. Then within PrismArch, obviously, we have an immersive space, but it's very intuitive. So you're using your hands, you're pointing at things, you're dragging things. So I believe that it is a fairly easy way to access. Clearly, then refining the workspace would also mean we would have to develop the software further and make it more intuitive. But I think so far the absorption has been fairly quick.
Amazing. I see, as you said, you answered the other questions, so you guys are free to go. Thank you so much for your presentation, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.